HeadCrab. The HeadCrab from Half-Life is one of the most disturbing little things gaming has ever produced. It doesn't look dangerous at first. It's small, kinda looks like a crab mixed with a facehugger, and it moves in these quick skittery hops. But the second it gets near a human, it latches onto their head and hijacks their entire nervous system. The person doesn't die, they just stop being in control. What's left is a HeadCrab zombie. A stumbling, groaning, half-dead thing with the crab fused to its skull, and the victim's torso split open with long, clawed fingers dragging on the ground. And yeah, you can still hear the person screaming underneath. That detail alone is nightmare fuel. There are multiple types too. Regular headcrabs go for the basic zombie transformation. Fast headcrabs create these twitchy, sprinting horrors that charge at you screaming. But the worst one is the poison headcrab. Those ones turn their hosts into giant, bloated poison zombies that chuck poison headcrabs at you like living grenades. The whole point of the headcrab is control. It's not just an attack. It's a conversion tool. It turns your allies and random civilians into weapons against you. And the fact that you can hear the victim suffering the entire time makes every encounter feel genuinely awful in the best way. Mimic. The Mimic shows up in a few games, but two versions stand out above everything else. In Dark Souls, the Mimic is a chest. Just a regular looking treasure chest sitting in a dungeon, and if you open it without checking first, it unfolds into this long-limbed, horrifying humanoid with a giant mouthful of teeth where the lid used to be. It swallows you whole and that's your health gone. The entire concept is designed to punish greed. You see a chest, you get excited, and then it eats you. What's wild is the only way to tell it apart from a real chest is a tiny chain detail on the side. Most people don't notice until it's too late. Then there's the Mimic from Prey, which takes the concept even further. In that game, mimics are small alien creatures that can look exactly like any random object in the room. A coffee cup, a stapler, a chair. You'll walk into a room and suddenly a mug launches itself at your face and starts tearing into you. It completely changes how you look at every environment. You start shooting random objects just to check. The paranoia it creates is honestly the whole point. Two very different games, same idea. TheFlood. TheFlood from Halo is straight up one of the most terrifying things in gaming lore. It's not just a monster. It's a parasite that infects hosts, takes over their bodies and minds, and builds itself into a massive collective intelligence. It came from outside the galaxy. Nobody knows exactly where. But the Forerunners, the ancient alien race that built the Halo rings, fought it for thousands of years and nearly lost everything. The Flood doesn't just kill you, it absorbs you. Your memories, your knowledge, your combat skills, all of it gets fed into the collective. Infection forms are these small, fist-sized things that burrow into a host and take over the central nervous system. Once infected, your body starts mutating. Limbs twist. Extra mouths grow. Combat forms are former soldiers and aliens with massive arm blades and bodies bent into shapes that shouldn't be possible. There's also the pure form, which are flood creatures that don't even bother taking a host. They just grow into whatever shape works best for the situation. Stalker, ranged, tank. They morph mid-combat. What makes the Flood so dangerous isn't just the gore. It's the strategy. It thinks. It adapts. And the only reason the Halo rings were built in the first place was to starve it by wiping out all potential hosts across the galaxy. The Forerunners decided that killing everything was better than letting the Flood win. That's how serious of a threat it is. ReDead. The ReDead from The Legend of Zelda is one of those enemies that traumatized an entire generation of kids without even being that hard to fight. It just stands there in dark rooms, looking like a dried-out mummy wrapped in brown rags with hollow black eyes and a gaping mouth. The second it sees you, it lets out this screech. And that screech freezes you completely. You can't move, you can't fight back. It just slowly shuffles towards you, climbs on you, and starts draining your health while making this horrible groaning sound. You're just stuck there watching it happen. In Ocarina of Time, the ReDead shows up in the adult timeline version of Hyrule Market, which used to be a bright, busy town. Now it's just empty ruins full of these things groaning in the dark. The tonal shift alone was enough to mess people up as kids. In later games like Wind Waker, the design changed to something even creepier, with a mask-like face that actually makes it look more human. The scariest part about ReDead isn't its power. It's the helplessness. The scream locks you down. You know what's coming. You just have to watch. GraveMind. GraveMind from Halo is the brain of the entire Flood. Like literally, it's a massive creature made entirely from the compressed biomass of millions of dead beings, all fused together into one giant thinking thing. It lives in the deepest parts of flood-infested areas, and it controls the entire swarm through a kind of shared consciousness. It looks like a mountain of rotting flesh, with huge tendril arms and glowing yellow eyes buried somewhere in the mass. But what makes GraveMind genuinely scary isn't the look. It's the way it talks. It speaks in perfect poetic verse. Calm, intelligent, measured. It calls itself a monument to all your sins. It can hold conversations, debate philosophy, and manipulate people into doing exactly what it wants. It even temporarily teams up with Master Chief and the Arbiter in Halo 2, not because it's friendly, but because it needed them to do something useful. The second they stopped being useful, it was done with them. GraveMind is the Flood's endgame. Every infection, every absorbed host, every piece of knowledge the Flood has ever collected feeds back into it. It's been around for thousands of years, and it remembers everything. And the most unsettling thing is that it genuinely believes it's right. It thinks assimilation is a gift, that becoming part of the whole is better than individual existence. It's not just a monster. It's a monster with a worldview. Guardian. The Guardians from Breath of the Wild are ancient machines built by the Sheikah thousands of years before the game takes place. They look like giant mechanical spiders with 6 legs, a rotating eye in the center of their body, and a beam cannon that charges up and fires a laser strong enough to destroy stone walls. They were originally built to help fight Calamity Ganon, but Ganon corrupted them and turned them into weapons against Hyrule. So now, the overworld is littered with these things, half buried in the ground, fully active, waiting to lock on to anything that moves. The lock-on beam is what gets people. You'll be exploring and suddenly hear that ominous whirring sound. A targeting beam sweeps across the ground, and when it finds you, it tracks you instantly. You have a few seconds before the main blast fires. Getting hit by a direct shot from a fully powered Guardian is basically instant death unless you've got a lot of hearts. But here's the thing. You can parry it. If you deflect the beam back at the eye at exactly the right moment, it destroys the Guardian in one hit. That mechanic turns one of the most terrifying enemies in the game into a skill check. Stalker Guardians roam the overworld. Turret Guardians are fixed but still dangerous. And the Flying Skywatcher Guardians circle areas like mechanical vultures. They're everywhere. And even after 100 hours in the game, hearing that targeting sound still makes people tense up. AngleFish. The AngleFish from Subnautica isn't the biggest creature in the game. That title goes to the Sea Dragon. But the AngleFish is one of the most consistently terrifying things you'll encounter, specifically because of how it hunts. It lives in the deep dark zones of the ocean, areas where your flashlight barely does anything, and every shadow could be a wall or something waiting to bite you. The anglerfish is completely blind. It can't see you at all, but it can hear you. Every sound you make, moving your fins, the hum of your submarine, the noise of your equipment, it all draws them in. And the worst part is, they're almost invisible until you're already too close. They sit completely still in the dark, and you'll swim right into one before you even realize it's there. They're covered in bioluminescent spots that glow faintly, but that glow is also what lures prey, including you, if you're not paying attention. Getting grabbed by one does a serious chunk of damage, and there's almost no warning. Subnautica already plays hard on the fear of deep open water, and the anglerfish is basically designed to be the physical form of that fear. Invisible, quiet, and right in front of you the whole time. The dog. The dog from Duck Season is not what it looks like. The game starts as a simple VR recreation of the classic Duck Hunt game from the NES. A dog pops up laughing at you when you miss shots. Cute and nostalgic. But if you keep losing on purpose, things start to get wrong. The dog starts appearing in the real world, outside the game, in the house. At first, it's just glimpses, a shadow, a shape in a window. Then it starts showing up in the room with you. It doesn't act like a cartoon anymore. It moves wrong. It watches you. And depending on your choices throughout the game, it escalates into one of 7 different endings, some of which involve the dog breaking completely out of the screen and hunting you through the house. The design shift is brutal. It goes from a goofy pixelated cartoon dog to a dark, distorted, barely visible shape with glowing eyes that feels completely wrong in a real space. The whole horror of it is that you invited it in. You were playing the game. You were the one who kept losing on purpose. It turned a childhood memory into something genuinely threatening, and it did it so slowly that by the time you realize what's happening, it's already too late. Clicker. The clicker from The Last of Us is what happens when a human being has been infected with the cordyceps fungus for long enough. Early infection turns people into runners. Still kind of human, panicked, fast, but conscious enough to be scared. A clicker is past all that. The fungus has completely taken over the head. The entire face is buried under layers of fungal growth that look like cracked bark and blooming spores. The eyes are gone, completely sealed over. So clickers are totally blind. But to compensate, they've developed echolocation, making a rapid clicking sound that bounces off surfaces and tells them exactly where you are. That clicking is also the most iconic sound in the game. The second you hear it nearby, everything slows down. You stop moving. You hold your breath. Because clickers are also a one-hit kill if they grab you, no matter how much health you have. If a clicker gets its hands on you, it bites your neck and that's it. You have to either sneak around them or use a shiv to get out of a grab before it completes. What makes them so effective as an enemy is the sensory flip. You can see them, they can't see you. But you still feel hunted because the sound is coming from everywhere, and one mistake ends the run. It's stealth horror done perfectly. Shoggoth. The Shoggoth-type creature shows up in different forms across gaming, but its roots go back to H.P. Lovecraft's horror fiction. In games like Bloodborne and The Sinking City, you get creatures that are basically the same idea. A massive, shapeless mass of organic material with eyes and mouths randomly distributed across its body that can appear and disappear. No fixed form, no symmetry, just bulk, movement, and wrongness. In Bloodborne, the Rom and some of the later beasts carry this energy. Huge things that don't move the way anything should, covered in extra limbs and eyes, sitting in spaces that feel like they shouldn't exist. In the Sinking City and Call of Cthulhu games, actual Shoggoths show up as these enormous rolling walls of flesh and eyes that are practically impossible to fight directly. The whole point of the design is that it breaks every mental shortcut your brain uses to understand a living thing. No face to look at, no clear front or back, no way to predict where an attack comes from. They're designed to feel like your brain just can't process what it's looking at. And in the lore, they were built as tools, servants created by an ancient race to do labor. But they evolved past their creators and wiped them out. A weapon that outgrew the people who made it and became something that can't be reasoned with, communicated with, or stopped by anything conventional. Just size and hunger and too many eyes.